Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Well, good morning and welcome to Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call, and good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
So nice to have you here this morning.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
So we can debrief about your party.
Yeah.
It was nice.
First, before I talk about the party, let me just say that we have Randy Staples coming up with the Idaho Political Update. At 9 o'clock, we have Nayeli Corral, right? Mm-hmm. And she is, explain this.
Well, it was interesting. She lives with my neighbor, and she's goes to CSI, but her family are fruit pickers. She's picked fruit in the fields as a migrant worker since age of 6 or 7. So we were talking about what happened with the priority of who's going to be deported and who isn't right now, and how it affects her and her family. I think a couple of her uncles now are allowed to stay, and so we were just talking about this on Friday because I usually have coffee with my neighbor, and she had come home from school early. I think a class got canceled or something, and then we just were talking about that. And I said, this would be interesting to hear it from someone who lives it and someone who knows. She's American, and her mother's American, but she was born in Mexico, so she has dual citizenship. But anyway, it was interesting, and I thought, let's put a human face to what people have to deal with.
Yeah, all right. So that's coming up at 9 o'clock. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, she's a sweet girl.
Yeah, very good. Well, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We got Ferguson waiting for a decision, Chuck Hagel stepping down from Secretary of Defense and all that stuff, which we will get to. But I just have to say how humbled I am and how grateful I am to everyone who came to my retirement party Friday night at the Turf Club.
It was really nice. It was very nice.
I thought it was great. Mm-hmm. We had a good time. I was able to speak to almost everybody, I think. Mm-hmm. I kind of stood there at the door as they came in. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I'm afraid maybe I did, but you get to visiting with one and then others come in and they just go on past. But I don't think I missed anybody.
I'm sure everyone spoke to you.
And I would feel
you
bad
were holding
if I didn't
court.
get to, shake their hand of everyone
it
who
was
came
nice.
in. So
it was really sweet, and some GW was there early. There were a lot of people that were early. I got there around 4:30. I don't know. I guess I thought I should get there early, and then I'm like, "Where are you?" People kept saying, "Where's Kelly?" It's now 10:05. It's 5:05, and you're usually early.
Well, I know, but.
You came with the family.
I did, and I had to stop by and pick up my mother-in-law, so, we got her.
And everyone's like, where's Kelly? I said, I don't know where Kelly is. He's not coming. But
well,
anyway.
I figured, hey, it's my party. I'll be late if I want to.
Yeah, clearly. But it was really nice to meet a lot of the listeners. I'm going to say it, Dan. I'm telling you. He came up to me and he goes, Jill, I want to meet you. You remind me of Roseanne. I'm like, Roseanne Barr? Yeah, you sound like Roseanne Barr. I'm like, do you think I look like Roseanne? Well, I didn't get that far. You just sound like Roseanne. So, hi, Dan from Roseanne, your favorite radio person.
I'll bet probably, 50 to 60% of the folks that came I had never met before. So it was really fun. And a lot of them I'm friends on Facebook, but a lot of them I had never really been able to just, shake their hand and introduce myself.
It's always really nice to meet the listeners and stuff. And their impressions.
It is. And some of them even came bearing gifts, which was totally unnecessary. But
I had no
idea. It was appreciated. I thought it was neat. I got a carton of 22 long rifle shells, and that was cool. And I have to say, Red's Trading Post. Along with Town Square Media.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't just Reds.
And Town Square Media gave me a nice gift certificate to a place where I buy all my voiceover equipment and stuff. So that was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
But Reds, when I walked in, I never even noticed it. I walked on past because there were some people there, but out on the table was a Henry Golden Boy 22 rifle.
Well, I was there when they
engraved.
I was there setting it up. I'm like, Janice, do you think he's going to know for him? She goes, it's for him. She goes, oh, yeah, sure. Well, and Claire, you didn't. I said, okay.
I walked right past it. I didn't even see it.
I know.
And so our GM, Janice, came to me in a few minutes and said, Kelly, I need you to come here for a second. And she showed me that. I was floored.
Well, you thought it was just decoration.
It was engraved with Twin Falls County. It is the what they call the proof. when they make a series of guns, they'll make a proof. That's kind of the prototype. And then they made 10 more of this one off of that proof. So mine is the proof with the engraving and everything. And it was just, I can't imagine anything better. I mean, that was just absolutely perfect. A Henry Golden Boy. I mean, it's made in the U.S., that has action like warm butter, and it's just a wonderful, an octagon barrel.
It looked really nice. I don't know. I don't know the difference, but it was funny. I thought you might not know it was for you since it's sitting out there like a decoration with the little flowers.
I have to tell you, when she took me back around there, I saw this rifle sitting there. I thought, oh, are we going to have a raffle or a giveaway
shootout? Yeah, what are we giving away? Something else at my retirement party?
That's what I thought. What are we doing? Monetizing this thing?
What, are you kidding me? What, do you have to pay for the hors d'oeuvres? What's happening?
I know.
That's so funny. You're so used to like things like that. Well, that's nice. So you liked it and you were surprised.
Yes. Are you kidding? It was great. And some of the other folks, gave me envelopes of stuff. One in particular. Wow. I was just bowled over.
Wow.
I was just bowled over.
That's so nice.
And so many people that stopped by that I did know and known from the past. And
so now is it hard? Do you feel like, okay, well, I had my party. Now I'm retired.
Well,
oh, wait, I got to keep working.
I was thinking I can't change my mind now. I mean, after you have the party and you get all this stuff, it's like, whoa, I can't change my mind now, or I'll have to give all this stuff back.
I know. Everyone's like, oh, was you're not going to be on the air again? No, you're going to be on the air until December 31st.
Yes, December 31st.
So keep listening.
So anyway, looks like we got a caller.
Okay.
Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jill. Good morning,
Where
Kelly.
were you?
You didn't want to say hi to me. I was over there in the corner. I'm 6'4", 300 pounds, dark-skinned individual, and I went up to Kelly, and he just turned around and left. I said, what? He must be intimidated by me. And I texted, hello, Kelly, and he just took off. I don't know what. So
No, sir.
No,
You're teasing.
that is so not true.
That
is so not true.
I'm kidding. Hey, Jill.
Yes.
I wanted to say congrats on the interview that you're doing this morning with this young lady. Awesome. I think you're very creative on what you're doing.
Oh, well, thanks. I think it was really interesting. So anyway, but we were waiting to see if he was going to show up.
I kept an eye out for you. I thought that would be fun to have you stop by, but
sometimes things come up and you can't.
Yeah.
There were a lot of events going on that night.
There were, but you know what? A lot of folks stopped by before.
I know.
I mean, Sheriff Carter stopped by. Sheriff Doug McFall from Jerome. They
Jack
were
Johnson
on their
was
way.
there.
They had a big event going on in Jerome. They came over for that. County Commissioner
Leon Mills was there.
Yeah, that's right. Leon Mills was there. Kathy Romer from Jerome had left their part of the thing going on over there early so they could come by.
Nice.
And Jack Johnson, the undersheriff in Jerome County.
He was there. Yeah, he said there was a Jerome Chamber of Commerce party at Blue Lake.
Yeah.
So they came early. That's why I'm texting you like, where are you? These people are here seeing you because they have to leave.
I know.
It was really nice.
It was. I just can't imagine it being any better. It was just fantastic. It was wonderful getting to see all the people
and now you just have to focus till the end of the year.
I know, man. I'm really going to have short-timers now.
We think every day is going to be a party for you.
Every day is going to be short-timers now, I'll tell you what.
Oh, my. Like, we thought it was bad before. No buttons are going to get pushed around here. Nothing's going to happen.
I'm going to forget everything. I'm going to sit down at this board and think, I wonder what these buttons are for.
I'll be lucky if you remember my name, which some days is tough. You're what? What am I doing here?
Yeah. So anyway, enough about that. Thank you again. I'm very humbled for everyone who stopped by. It was just fun. I know there were a lot of people who wanted to stop by and couldn't for various reasons, and they were there in spirit, and it was just...
But they like you. They really, really like you.
I think most of them did anyway. Yeah.
I had to step out for a little bit. We had to get something to eat and come back. I was so hungry.
I was kind of surprised when you came back. I thought you were gone for the evening, and I wouldn't have blamed you. I thought that's just fine.
No.
Maybe when you came back, I thought, well, wow.
I know.
Really
well, I didn't really want to leave, but I was like, I had to eat something. So we came, and a lot of places were crowded, so we wasted time going to another place. But I came back. I wanted to see you. I felt badly.
Well, after about 45 minutes to an hour, my lovely wife went and got me a little plate of goodies because I hadn't been able to make it through the food line. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody.
And when you stand talking, it does expend a lot of energy.
It does.
It does.
And
I get worn out.
Because of all the people coming through and all the visiting, it took me an hour and a half to eat that little plate of goodies.
Which, if anyone knows Kelly, is a world record. Where's Guinness when we need them?
A buffet like that? Are you kidding me?
What, are you kidding me? Only one plate? One small plate?
I know.
Did you get the carrot cake at least?
I did. I got me a piece of carrot cake, and I was only able to eat half of it before I finally got full, because when you eat a little bit and over a long period of time, it fills you up.
Really, Kelly, when you take your time.
That's why when I sit down to eat, I eat as much as I can in a short period of time in order to get all I can get. I'm not used to this lingering it out here. 7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, you guys. I've been listening to Party Line and your show and these shows on the radio for a lot of years. And if I'm not mistaken, it was one of the first talk shows that was ever aired.
Yes, that is true.
Was it L. James Kopnick? Was he the first, or was there one before him?
No, I think it was Kent Just did the first
one.
Then
L. James, and then
L. James,
Charlie Tuma, and those guys.
Yep, Charlie. See, we purchased KLIX in 1993. And then the talk show was off for a while, and then we started it back up. So I guess if you want to go in the bloodline, it was L. James, and then a hiatus, and then me. And then if you remember, Suzanne Just and I did a show for a while, and then it took another little hiatus, and we started it up again. So,
well, I want you to know I've enjoyed it for an awful lot of years, and I sure appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. I guess you weren't able to stop by the party?
No, I wasn't. I wish I could have, but it would have been fun. And I sure wish you the best.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very cool. That's
nice. So one of the first talk shows, huh?
Yes, and one of the, I think it was the first.
What, in Idaho or
nation.
Ever?
I don't know. What that. I'm going to have to look into that.
What year was that again?
It was a long time ago.
Okay, so that documents it.
Maybe it was the first one in Idaho. I don't know, but it seemed like it was the first one like it in the country. But
wow.
I could be totally.
That's amazing.
I know Kent Just, I think, has the story on that. Everybody knows Kent Just, and he was there. He stopped by and said hi. He was the president of the Twin Falls Chamber of Commerce for a long time.
16 years, I think.
Yeah, a long time. So we might have to get a hold of him and have him reiterate that history. So,
maybe he's listening.
Or Charlie Tuma might know, too. I don't know I haven't heard from Charlie in a long time, so.
Charlie, if you're listening, call in.
He owned KLIX for a while, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be right back here on Top Story. Sorry, I kind of got off on
Kelly's party.
On a party here. We'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Now, I'm going to be talking about everybody who stopped by my party, because Dave Hansen from Canyon Pond stopped by.
He did.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was good to see Dave.
It was good to see Dave.
Yeah, and Dave has Canyon Pond, which is right across from Will's Toyota, and all kinds of guns in there, and gold, and jewelry, and watches, and it's the cleanest pawn shop. I'm going to say it's the cleanest pawn shop in Magic Valley. And it's the newest one in Twin Falls for sure.
It's really nice. It's
very,
beautiful.
very clean, yes. And they got everything in there. So if you're looking for stuff that you might be hard to find, and you think, well, I wonder if a pawn shop would have something like that. He just might have it. So you need to check it out on Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota. Mm-hmm. And he'd love to have you stop by and say hi, if nothing else.
That's what he says. People come in all the time and tell him that we sent them.
Yeah.
So tell them.
Brand new and used items. Yep, tell them we sent you.
It's Christmas. You can get a lot of nice stuff there.
Oh, I know.
No one has to know.
And
no one has to know. Don't be embarrassed.
No, heavens
come
no.
On.
Wouldn't bother me a bit.
Yeah.
And if you need a little extra money for Christmas and got an item to pawn, he can help you out with that.
Yep.
So there you go. Well, we do have a little bit of news to talk about. I don't know. I suppose the top No, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about this.
Well, you just decide what you want to talk about, Kelly.
I'm going to decide
because it's your last few shows.
Yes.
Let's just talk all about what Kelly wants.
Whatever
what do you want to talk about, Kelly?
Well, you know how last week the big story was all the snow in Buffalo, New York?
Oh, 9 feet of snow. But remember back in the day, we had 5 inches. Yeah, I remember Buffalo, New York. Not quite like when we had 5 inches, but go on.
Okay, so imagine, if you will, 8 feet of snow outside the door, and now you've got 60-degree temperatures and rain in the forecast.
Oh, God.
What would you do? What would you do?
A lot of people are riding their bikes with T-shirts on.
Oh, my gosh.
Ignoring what's about to happen.
And getting the boats out of storage. This is going to be something.
This is sad.
80 inches of snow is what I saw and now they're looking at 60-degree temperatures and rain.
Oy.
Can you imagine
No.
the bedlam?
How many roofs are going to collapse? How many are collapsing already? Just
My
the weight of it.
gosh.
And then with the water on it, too?
I know, but the water running down the streets and everywhere,
No.
I can't even imagine. We had
Happy Thanksgiving, people.
a couple of years ago, we had about 10 inches of snow in one day here in the spring, early spring. And then it turned off warm, and that stuff just melted like nobody's business. And it came down across the fields and into a ditch and into my lane, down my lane, and into my basement.
The nerve.
Oh, my gosh, it was a mess.
It said, well, what's a better place than Kelly's basement?
I can imagine 80 inches.
No, I can't imagine.
So-
That's like insanity.
So pray for the people of Buffalo.
I know.
Wow.
You need to pray for them anyway during the winter because that place is really cold. This has snow constantly.
Well, they live there for a reason. Come on. It's like people
The
live in
football
Buffalo
team.
because they like the cold, like people live in Phoenix because they like the warm, you know?
Yeah.
So
Well,
there you
that's
go.
the birthplace of the Buffalo Wings, in case you didn't know that. The Anchor Bar created the Buffalo Wing
In Buffalo, New York?
in Buffalo, New York.
Ah,
I
I didn't know that.
You didn't?
Well, I was talking about Phoenix. I thought maybe you were talking about
No,
Phoenix.
Buffalo Wings.
A driver struck a man in a McDonald's drive-thru lane in Queens, then backed up over him to
Don't say
retrieve a
no.
food order before fleeing. The bizarre incident happened early Saturday morning. It happened so fast that workers didn't get a look at the car or the license plate. They were more concerned about the 48-year-old victim, who was left in critical condition with severe injuries after being rushed to the hospital.
And I hope no one said to him, would you like fries with that? That is so awful.
Oh, my.
What is wrong with people?
I don't know.
Did they find the person who did it?
It doesn't say so. I doubt if they did.
Do you think he knew he backed over the person?
I'm thinking he probably did.
Goodness gracious.
Former Washington, D.C. Mayor Marion Barry has gone to that great crack house in the sky. He died Sunday at the United Medical Center after having been released from a hospital a day earlier. He was 78. Barry died naturally of heart problems caused by high blood pressure, and his kidney disease was a contributing factor. And I don't know, maybe something to do with
Some crack
cocaine
past.
from years gone by. But anyway, he had a kidney transplant several years ago. He collapsed outside of his home.
But he was released from the hospital a day earlier. Good news is you're fine. Go home now. Start living your life. Happy Thanksgiving. Boom.
Eat lots of turkey and dressing.
Yeah.
So-
No, cut the skin off. You got a little bit of heart disease. What? How do you drop the next day? Maybe you should have stayed in the hospital.
Maybe. I don't know.
Goodness.
That happened in Dallas with an Ebola patient, too, if you'll remember. So
Yeah,
I
here's
don't
a
know.
few pills. Go home. You got a little fever.
Yeah,
We think it's the flu.
So we're not going to have former Washington, D.C. Mayor Marion Barry to kick around and make fun of anymore.
Oh, stop.
He has gone to as I said, the great crack house in the sky.
Hey, you know what? There's a lot of people who've had drug issues that have redeemed themselves. I think the person following our show, that's all I can say. Rush Limbaugh, he was dealing, he was addicted too. People have
Oxycontin.
addiction. Yeah.
Oxycontin.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't imagine who you were talking. What do you
You
mean?
couldn't? Are you kidding me?
We'll be right back here on Top Story. We got more news. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And the Certiset is an innovative new way to irrigate. When the weather's right, you know how important it is to take advantage of it. The Certiset solid set system allows you to water almost to blooming, and when the blooming time comes, you can start cutting immediately. You don't have to wait to relocate a lot of pipe. You just place the pipe in the guides and you start cutting. Now, they can tell you more about this Certiset at Far More of Idaho. Here we are. We're kind of in a, well, nobody's irrigating right now, okay?
No.
There's just no need for it. But in a couple of months, 3 months, that's going to change. You're going to be thinking about this again. And if you're thinking about updating your irrigation system, talk to the folks at Far More of Idaho, because they can help you out with a Certiset system or pivots or whatever. So 324-3341 is the number to call. They are your go-to folks when it comes to irrigation here in the Magic Valley area. Far More of Idaho.
Irrigating Buffalo right now.
Yeah.
Poor Buffalo.
Oh, man, I tell you, I can't imagine 80 inches of snow melting under 60-degree temperatures and rain.
Happy
That'd
Thanksgiving.
be a
This nightmare.
Nightmare.
Poor people.
A 12-member jury is weighing whether to indict Ferguson, Missouri police officer Darren Wilson, who is white, with fatally shooting Michael Brown, a black teenager, on August 9th. The community is bracing for the grand jury's report, which may be out today, not sure, with Brown's family joining President Obama and Attorney General Eric Holder urging people to remain peaceful. Federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies have deployed additional officers to the area in advance of any demonstrations, including about 100 FBI agents. The governor also has activated the National Guard, and schools in Ferguson and nearby communities have canceled classes.
I mean, it's almost like, it's just going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, it looks like a war zone. You're bringing things in, and it's almost like it's heightened tension so much. You wonder what's taken so long. They've been, has it been May? I don't know how long the jury's been convened. It's been a long time.
It's been several weeks.
Long.
It's been
several months.
The grand, well, I don't know.
No,
I don't
it's
remember
been
when
months,
they. I don't remember
months,
when they.
and it's almost like rip the Band-Aid off. Come on, you either decide there's enough probable cause to move forward, or you don't. So
yeah, it would be. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
My gosh.
So,
mm-hmm.
And this kind of just in this morning, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel is stepping down under pressure, apparently. The first cabinet-level casualty of the collapse of President Obama's Democratic majority in the Senate and the struggles of his national security team amid an onslaught of global crises. The president, who's expected to announce Mr. Hagel's resignation in the Rose Garden appearance in a little bit. In fact, I think he's supposed to be speaking around 9 o'clock-ish our time. We'll kind of see how that works, and we'll see if, I believe the Fox News Radio folks will be carrying it, so we may carry that for you. But at any rate, he was the sole Republican on his national security team. He stepped down last Friday after a series of meetings over the past 2 weeks. The officials described Mr. Obama's decision to remove Mr. Hagel as a recognition that the threat from the Islamic State would require a different kind of skills than those that Mr. Hagel was brought on to employ. A Republican with military experience who was skeptical about the Iraq War, Mr. Hagel came in to manage the Afghanistan combat withdrawal and the shrinking Pentagon budget in an era of budget sequestration. Let's see. There was some talk here of who would be replacing him, and I thought I marked that, but here we go. Even before the announcement of Mr. Hagel's removal, Obama officials were speculating on his possible replacement. At the top of the list are Michelle Flournoy, the former Undersecretary of Defense, Senator Jack Reed, a Democrat of Rhode Island and a former officer with the Army's 82nd Airborne, and Ashton Carter, a former Deputy Secretary of Defense. So, I don't know, kind of heads rolling here a little bit. I'm kind of surprised. I know that it seems like there have been a series of missteps here in the past with Secretary Hagel, and
well, it was amazing he got through his confirmation hearings. He wasn't he wasn't exactly stellar during that. Remember all that?
Right,
yeah, I mean
exactly.
Initially you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you prepared at all?
So, yeah, apparently he wasn't prepared for the job, and apparently his appearance before his confirmation confirmed that. But he was confirmed anyway.
And yet he was confirmed.
I don't know. So
Robert Gates was in there for so long,
Yeah.
and
But anyway, I was still kind of shocked. I did not see this coming.
They didn't let you know?
Now that no, they didn't, and I'm a little upset.
Especially since you're retiring, you would think you'd be the pipeline to news
I thought
right
sure
now.
that the president would call me and ask for my advice, which I would say, well, hey, if Hagel's going to step down, why don't you go ahead and do the same thing? That might help a lot more.
Oh,
but at any rate,
President Biden, here we come.
well, that would be another problem.
Oh,
see?
would it now?
We're just kind of stuck. We're stuck.
Oh,
we're stuck.
What a shame.
So we've got Randy Staples next with the Idaho Political Update. 7360300 was the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And it's just above that freezing point, 33 right now. I don't know what it was coming in this morning. I didn't check it.
I don't know. It was much warmer than it had been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now I don't know what I'm going to do with the second sweater.
They're probably wishing in Buffalo that they had a little cooler temperatures.
Like 60?
Slow things down a little bit.
Oh, my.
At any rate, as we do every week at this time, we have Randy Staples with us with the Idaho Political Update. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Hey, thanks for being on the show this morning.
Sure.
I was looking through your update this morning, and I noticed that you didn't mention anything about the selection of former Senator Larry Craig as finance chair for the Idaho GOP. Come to find out, you had actually made that announcement several weeks ago, but it was just I guess it kind of hit everybody last week, and that's when a big deal was made out about it.
Well,
So
sometimes these things take a little while to fully hit. Steve Yates, was elected as state Republican chair this last summer. You remember the big to-do about all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Not long after he was after he got into that spot, he named a number of people, some of them staff people, and a few others to other posts within the party. And one of those at that time was Larry Craig, and I think it may have gotten a little bit overlooked at the time because so many other things were going on.
I remember hearing that, and then I thought, well, was this a different position? Because I remember that, and we talked about that again. But this is the same position? They just reported it again or something? Or people found what?
It became a little bit. It became a little bit more finalized, and he more or less has moved into it now. So that kind of provided a little bit of an additional hook to note it again. But once again, it got plenty of attention around the state and beyond. There were headlines with some of the news aggregators that certainly had plenty of fun with it.
I wonder if his office is larger because of his wide stance.
Well, and there were those who said that the Republican Party had toe-tapped Craig for the finances.
Oh, my gosh.
But no, it's going to follow the guy forever.
It just kind of affords itself all sorts of commentary.
Yes. The one-liners are endless.
But how can it not? That's the thing too. You appoint this man, and each paragraph follows him forever. The wide stance, and then his campaign funds towards his legal fees. I mean, that will follow him forever.
It brings it all back up because inevitably every reference to it, every news story about it is going to bring the whole subject back up. In one sense, I can kind of understand it in that a former, long-term public official like Craig, who was in Congress a very long time and has been in Idaho politics a very long time, certainly knows where the money is to be found. The job of a finance director is to get involved in raising money, and presumably he could do some of that. But it does seem like kind of an odd choice in its way.
Well, do you think his background now is going to affect his ability to do that job? How do you think people will feel about it? Because I haven't seen very nice comments so far.
Well, it probably is going to affect it to some degree or another. I would imagine that most of the time when former members of Congress retire and then they move on and do some other things, and Larry Craig has been doing some lobbying and some things like that. Their time is usually pretty well taken up with those things, and they don't usually have the time for an unpaid volunteer job like this, which this is. It's an unpaid volunteer job. And usually a finance chairman is not a former member of Congress. Usually it's somebody within the party in the state who's who's kind of a local volunteer who's trying to contribute. And that's kind of the way that normally goes. So it's kind of an unusual choice in that regard.
Well, do you also? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, do you think that because he does have that position that some people say, you know what, I'm not going to give to the Republican Party because of that?
Because it reminds them of all of that.
Yeah.
I expect there will be people that have exactly that reaction. I imagine that's exactly right.
The other thing, too, I was thinking in over finance chair, when you think that his judgment was that, his campaign donors should pay his, $242,000 of legal fees because he was toe tapping in a bathroom in Minneapolis. I mean, the judgment to think that that's okay for campaign donors, would you have to wonder and go, okay, if he thinks that's okay, maybe how he's going to spend my money is not okay either. I mean, to me, that's bad judgment to me.
That's a very good point. I haven't even seen that one brought up much in the discussion.
You haven't?
Far, but I hadn't seen it brought up a lot. But it seems to me like a very valid point.
Yeah, I mean, where's your judgment if you're thinking campaign donors should have paid for that? And he's fought tooth and nail. I mean, he keeps going with that lawsuit. I would have just paid it, shut up, and never been heard from again. Frankly,
and when you talk about how campaign donations are used, and you're getting the pitch from somebody who's been in a controversy like that.
Yeah.
With about the way that those donations ultimately are used, that could be a problem.
Yeah, I would think so.
Well, I guess time will tell to see how he's effective in that job. But to move along here, we got 26 votes separating Democrat Dan Rudolph and Republican incumbent Thyra Stevenson up in northern Idaho. We also have like 48 votes separating incumbent Democrat John Rushi and Republican Mike Kingsley. What would be, when these are resolved, what's going to be the net result? And have you ever seen a recount where the decision was actually changed?
It's very rare that the decision that the unofficial count, which we already have, as you just noted, it's very rare that a recount changes them. That's highly uncommon. We from time to time we do see recounts. I remember one in Boise just a few years ago where the difference between the candidates was 9 votes, and even there it didn't change. Yeah. In fact, what almost always happens is that a few votes get padded to the person who was ahead to begin with. That's the way it almost always goes. But there are a few exceptions. There's one I can think of, that the most spectacular one I can think of was in Washington State in 2004 when they had a super close race for governor, and it came down to a matter of just a couple hundred votes out of about 3 million cast. It was just a tiny percentage. And in the original count, the Republican was ahead. And there were 2 recounts held, and in both of those, the Democrat prevailed. So it can happen, but it's very rare. I would not hold my breath along those lines. Having said that, the vote's very close, and I certainly don't think it's illegitimate to try to check anything that might be at question.
So is this an automatic recount, or do the candidates have to pay for this one, or is it? Who's paying for this?
My understanding was that this one was not automatic. That there will need to be some cost, some payment on that. Part of that, it's pretty close to the line. But my understanding was that it was not automatic because they're not counting all the precincts, just some of them, and you pay by precinct if you do it that way. So you usually go after any precincts that you think are particularly questionable, but unless you're really flush with money, you tend not to go and pay for all of them.
You're like, well, maybe I don't want to win that badly. We'll just check a few precincts. How much is this going to cost again? Would you like fries with that? Okay, so anyway.
Well, one of the things we really haven't talked about since the election, and I know we've analyzed it to death, but I got to thinking, when you have an election kind of like we had in Idaho, and there seemed to be some fairly good Democratic candidates running, and they still got thrashed. Do you think that that's going to discourage other possible, what you might consider good candidates in the future from running on the Democrat ticket? And do you think that it's a sign of future elections in Idaho are going to be even easier for Republicans to win now?
Well, it tends to move things in that direction each time out. I think that some of exactly that dynamic has been happening for the last 15, 16 years anyway. Ever since this the pattern has kind of gotten locked in to where the overwhelming majority of Democratic candidates each time out loses. That's become such a recurring, predictable pattern that I have no doubt that it's well, I know, in fact, because I've talked with some of the people who have tried to or who have gotten people to fill in slots on the ballot for on the Democratic side. And it is a very difficult job. It is a lot of work. And that's exactly why, is because the presumption now is that the Democratic candidate is not likely to win, and so you have to find somebody in a lot of cases who is willing to run, recognizing that their odds of winning are very poor. And
but I think the candidates this time were much better, and they had more candidates in a lot of the positions, and you just hope, I don't know. I mean, this was such a demoralizing. I mean, really, to think that you can have some of these candidates that won is just really.
Oh, I think they did a good job, and I think that considering what they're up against, I think they've for years done a better job than might have been expected. And I know a couple of the people who have been chiefly responsible for doing that kind of recruitment, and they're very good. Mm-hmm. They're very good at what they're doing. And if they had not been, if they'd had just kind of mediocre recruiters doing it, I think you would have seen a lot more positions falling vacant on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they were good candidates. There were a lot of them that were pretty good candidates this time.
Oh, I think they were very good.
Well, based on Raul Labrador's former life as an immigration attorney, he's kind of put Idaho in a unique position. He's kind of what you would consider an expert in this deal. And then the president coming out and doing his stroke of the pen with the immigration issue. Do you think Raul Labrador is going to be able to capitalize on this at all in any way, or maybe bring focus to Idaho?
Well, he could. The position is the situation is kind of ready-made for it, if he chooses to do that in terms of coming forward with some sort of alternative proposal in Congress. In theory, he could become an architect of immigration policy at this point. The president said that if Congress sends him a bill, that he would very likely sign it if it were presumably anything in the ballpark of what the Senate has passed once before. It's probably, I don't think, so far as I can tell, and while Raul Labrador has a lot of expertise in immigration, and he really does because he's worked it professionally as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. That's been a centerpiece of what he did as a lawyer. He has kind of wandered around the issue, and it's not terribly clear exactly what it is that he would do and what he would propose. But sitting here right now, that kind of leaves him open to move in any of several different directions, and he could be a key player on this issue in this Congress if he chose.
But wasn't he part of that? Wasn't he part of the committee or the policy making? And basically, he walked away from it and said, "Let's not do anything." I mean, really, it's
that's right. He did exactly that.
But yet he'll be on, Meet the Press whenever to talk about it. Yet he's done nothing to advance this. He's ignored it, and you think, why? Why wouldn't you take the lead? But it doesn't sound like that's really his forte. When you look at the Republican convention this summer, he sort of created chaos and walked away. Maybe that's what he does.
It's an issue that he could have. I suppose if one interpretation could be that he had concluded that nothing was going to happen in any event, and he didn't want to be associated with something that was just a collapse. But if he and people in his party want to want to do something about the issue this time around during the course of this Congress, this would be the opportunity. So
Right.
let's see what he does.
Randy,
And if anything.
we're out of time. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next Monday. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
You
Randy.
too.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Randy Staples from Reidenbaugh Press at reidenbaugh.com. You can subscribe to his weekly update or hear him right here on Top Story every Monday. Coming up, we're going to be talking about immigration from someone who has been there, done that. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Top Story, 7360300. Always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
We're warming up slowly but surely. It's like 34 now. I think it's gone up about a degree in the last hour.
Oh, good.
So
I'm sure it'll be at 60 soon today.
unlike the poor people in Buffalo, New York.
Poor Buffalo.
Where they got 80 inches of snow and 60-degree temperatures and rain.
Bad recipe.
It would just, if that happened around here, it would just fill up the Snake River Canyon, you know? It'd just be water.
We didn't do well with 3 inches in one day.
That's
Can you
right.
imagine?
No kidding.
But anyway, well, we're back. And we have Nayeli Corral here with my neighbor, Chris Charlton, because we're on video. You're going to see Chris. And Chris lives down the street. And Nayeli is living with Chris right now. And Chris and I were having coffee Friday. I usually have coffee with my neighbor and see how she's doing. And Nayeli came in. You came in and talked about you didn't have class. And then I brought up the latest immigration policy that President Obama had changed, where he was not going to deport American citizens' families that weren't undocumented, and we started talking about that. And you have been a history of being a migrant fruit worker from your family, so we just wanted to ask you, what did your family feel like? What was the reaction to the people that you know to the president's new policy?
So my family was really happy. And just a lot of our friends now are going to be, just a lot of the people that we work with are really excited. And we just had a great, movement from them. And everyone in Nampa, they were showing a celebration. And there were a lot of my friends there. And I saw a lot of people from work. And they're just excited. It's a relief for them. It's not, they don't plan on doing anything bad. I don't know why people aren't really okay with this, or why everyone's getting so upset with the fact that the way he changed the things. I think it's really great.
So you would, how would you justify then the fact that they kind of stepped in front of those who have been trying to get into this country legally for a long time? Do they have guilty feelings about that or not?
Well, they had to go through a lot just to get here. They had to sell everything they owned. It cost a little over $5,000 to get someone to bring them over here, and that's a peso in Mexico is $1 here. Or no, 10 pesos in Mexico is $1 here. So that's a lot more that they had to do to sell, and just to earn all that money just to get over here, and then having to go through the desert, having to go through all of that. And a lot of people died that would go with them. So they had to go through a lot just to get here too.
But they aren't getting citizenship. Really, they're getting work visas, and it's only for 3 years. But maybe give us a little history about your family and what they have been doing.
So my family got here. My grandfather from my mother's side was a migrant worker, and he would only come during working periods, and they would travel to Florida, California, Washington, and here in Idaho. And they would work in the temporary, and then in the winter they would go back to Mexico and just, I guess, rest.
Probably.
So they were doing it legally. They got the temporary visa and did all the...
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. And then
right.
my mother was born in Texas. And then I was born in Mexico, and so that's why I have citizenship here, is because my mother was born here. But we came legally, and my dad came illegally for a time, but my mom fixed him papers, but he also had to pass the test that they have to do for citizenship and everything. So he did that. And now we're all legal, but I don't really understand why people are getting so upset about this, I guess.
So when people and you worked in the fruit field, tell them a little bit about your history of working yourself, because it was pretty mind-boggling.
I've worked in the field since I was about 10. I helped when I was little all the time as well. I absolutely hated it, but now that I look back, I guess it really did help out, and just knowing I can do that hard work. So now all the easy work, like now that I'm doing CNA and stuff like that, seems really easy to me because it's not, I'm not working out for 12 hours, 16 hours in the hot sun, sweating, and doing a lot of like physical activity and having to run and pick and carry ladders and everything. Like that's really hard. But yeah, I've worked since I was really little, and then just recently I got out just because I'm going to college now, and going to college is way better than working in the fields, and schooling is way better.
You appreciate what you have now than maybe you would have.
So much more. And my mother, so she didn't get schooling after 5th grade. My grandfather took her out of school because my grandmother passed away and they had 9 as a family. And so he took out everyone from school, and they all had to start working in the fields. So whenever I was in the field, my mom would give me that whole speech of, and you're lucky you're getting an education, and you better not take advantage of it, and I wish I had this when I was little, and just the whole, you need to go to college or else this is where you're going to end up.
So just, I know you got a question, Joe,
Go
but
ahead.
so we can get a little perspective on this. Okay, you said that you've been working in the fields since you were about 10 or up till 10?
Since I was 10 until just last year.
Okay, because I was going to ask you how old you were, if you wouldn't mind giving us so we can kind of tell what time period this takes place.
Oh, I'm 18 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But you
all right.
also were out there when you told me like when you were 6 or 7, you were out there too with
Yeah.
your family helping to pick as well.
Yeah, since I was little, they would give me like the little buckets, and I'd have to fill up with cherries and then give them to them, and then everyone was always running, and yeah.
So what do you say to those people who say, well, now that we're giving these people work visas and bringing them out of the shadows, they're taking our jobs? What do you have to say about that? How many Americans are working in the fruit fields?
There's only been 2 people that have actually stayed, Americans that have came to work with us in the fields. We've had people come for a day or 2, and then they don't come back. It's like,
It's just too difficult.
yeah, it's too difficult for them. They complain. They're like, I can get a better job. And we get upset because it's like, okay, you say we're taking your jobs, but no one shows up to work. So don't be complaining. What really upsets me is seeing like panhandlers, and they're like, I need a job or I need money. And it's like, well, if you need money, we'll come work. Because in the fields, we need a lot of workers. It's hard work, and it's not always done. Look at how big the fruit fields are. Like all the apple trees aren't going to pick themselves, or thinning peaches. Like that's a lot of work to do, and we need a lot of workers, and sometimes my mom has to call people, and sometimes she can't get people, and it's like, then why are you complaining about taking your work?
And what do you guys get paid? You told me your mom has worked for this place 20 years and
Yeah, 28 years, and she gets paid. She just got she got a raise for $8.25 an hour. And sometimes we get paid by the hour, and other times it's by how much work we do. So,
like how many pounds of apples or fruit or something like that?
yeah. Or it's like when we're doing contract for thinning peaches, it'll be like $1 per tree, or $1.25, or 50 cents a tree, depending on how much the work is. And if you don't work fast enough to make as much as you were supposed to make by the hour, then you get fired.
By the end of the day.
Yeah, by the end of the day.
So I kind of want to go back here a little bit. I know you talked about all the hardships that you go through by getting into this country and stuff, and I understand that. But I know there are a lot of people who feel that when you take cuts in line, that's not a good thing either. So how can one justify? What do you say to people when they come up and say, "Gosh, some of your family came here and they weren't supposed to be here. They cut in line, whereas, say, me or my family have been working to get here legally for a long time, going through the proper way, and we can't get there." What do you say to them? Or have you ever had that happen?
I haven't had that happen. I don't really know. I just feel like if you do take cuts in line for that stuff, you pay for them in a different manner. Like, okay, yeah, they took a cut in line in trying to get here, but they went through going through the desert, having to depress like here, in the United States, they're living in the shadows. Like, there's a lot of things they don't do or want to do because they're afraid. Or when they get sick, like, they're afraid to go to places just because they know they're not legal. And there have been cases, like, my mom's known a couple of people where, like, their kids got kidnapped and they couldn't report it.
Because
They're not legal. And so it's like they have to deal with more things that they know the consequences of it. So it's like, yeah, they may have taken a cut in line, but they pay for it in different ways. That the people that get here, because it does take a while to get citizenship, and that's why, or even just to get here. I mean, they have to pay a whole bunch of money, and it takes a while. It's over years. It's like over year process. So.
But also, this isn't citizenship. They aren't getting citizenship with this. And you've had to have been in the country for 5 years already to even qualify. Now, you said your uncles were now going to qualify. How did they used to live their life? I mean, were they always worried about someone? I mean, it seems like it would be a horrible life, like holding your breath all the time, like I might get caught. Did you ever know of anyone's parents or family members being deported?
Yes, I did. I had a couple of friends, their parents got deported, and that was my mom's friends, and we would take care of their kids at times because they didn't have anywhere to go, and it was so heartbreaking seeing seeing them lose their parents, and it's like, obviously they didn't want to do that, and then they ended up having to go back too.
How old were the kids?
5, and then one was 7, and the other one was 10.
So their parents are just taken away, so usually other people have to take care of their kids, or what happens to these kids?
They stayed with us for a bit, but then they decided to go back with their parents. But it was unfair because they were here legally, like they were born here.
They were Americans.
Yeah, they were Americans, and their parents had brought their parents came over illegally. So.
Could they have taken their kids back with them? To their country of origin? Would that have been legal for that country? I don't know if it was Mexico or what. You see what I'm saying? If they had taken their kids, would their kids have been allowed in there, maybe not being Mexican citizens?
I'm pretty sure they would. I'm not for sure on that one, but yeah, they ended up going back. They went to Mexico, but I'm thinking just because their parents are Mexicans. Like, for me, I have dual citizenship just because my mom was born here. So
Right,
I feel
right.
And you were
it's the
born in
same.
Right.
Mexico.
Yeah, I was
Right.
born in Mexico. So.
Right.
And you had trouble getting a driver's license.
Oh, yes, I did, because and even like I didn't get to do the driving course in high school because I would go to the DMV and they would ask me for my birth certificate, and I would give them my birth certificate and then the translation of it in English, and they would tell me they don't accept foreign documents. So they wouldn't accept my birth certificate. So I was just stuck there. So I didn't get to take driver's ed. And so when I went to go take my test, they had to make like a 2-hour phone call just because they were confused of the fact that I was a citizen, but I was born in Mexico, and they wouldn't receive my birth certificate. They didn't want to take any of my papers. They had to make phone calls first, and it was just annoying.
So how did you finally resolve? Obviously, they resolved it, but
I don't know, they made a phone call and they're like, okay, you can take your exam now. And I'm just like, 2 hours later, thanks.
interesting. Nayeli Corral is our guest this morning here on Top Story, and we'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And the word of the day brought to you by the folks at Happy Landing Restaurant.
Kelly's favorite restaurant.
Yeah, I was out there a couple of times last week.
Were you?
Eating good food.
Did you get pie?
No, I didn't get pie.
Oh, okay.
I tell you what, though, they have a hamburger. What do they call it? It's a hamburger steak breakfast, and it is to die for. So, and it fills you. I mean, they got that. It's a great big beef burger, and then that's hash browns and 2 eggs and toast and. Oh, I'm doing, you know how I eat, and I'm doing well to eat it all. I wasn't able to eat it all.
Oh my goodness gracious!
But
But if people do go out
morning.
there and tell them that we send them, they do get a free piece of pie if they haven't been there before,
They
right?
haven't been there before, and they purchase a drink or a meal or something. Tell them that you heard about it right here and get a free piece of pie from the
How
Happy
nice is
Landing
that?
at the airport, and you can watch the airplanes come and go. It's kind of a fun place to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Friday's $100 instant winning name is Gail McAllister.
Gail McAllister, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is world.
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 Go to our website, newsradio1310.com, click on Word of the Day, type in world, and listen tomorrow. And if you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you win $100, just like that.
I know, you got to play the word of the day.
That's right. We have a Nayeli Corral with us. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Nayeli Corral?
Yeah, it's Nayeli, but a lot of people can't pronounce it like that, so it's okay.
That's Kelly.
All right. Yeah. All right, sounds good. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a caller coming in, so let's go ahead and take that. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
To interrupt the subject, sorry. Kelly, I'm sorry I wasn't able to be at your party.
Well, thank you. I know you were there in spirit.
Yeah, I have a job, so I have to be there. But anyway, my thoughts to you. So.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good day. All right.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. Well, okay, so Nayeli. Is that right? Nayeli?
Nayeli.
Nayeli.
Okay.
I don't think he
Okay.
took
okay.
Spanish.
I don't think
It's
I'm going to
okay.
get it. I don't think I'm going to get it. All right. It seems like a lot of folks who are in your family situation appreciate being here more than many people who are actually born and raised here. And do you find that to be the case?
Yes, I find that to be the case. It's we appreciate a lot of the little things, and we appreciate just what we have because we know how hard it is to get it. Like working, we know how. And something I caught myself doing with my older brother was we would go to the store and we'd look at the games, like Xbox games and whatnot when we were kids, and we'd look at how much it was, and then we'd be like, wait, that takes us like 4 hours to work to get just this money. It's like, why don't we just go buy food instead? Or why don't we go buy? And we've done that a lot, and it's just we see how much hard work it takes just to get what we have. Yeah. So we appreciate those things.
We have a caller.
Okay.
Top story. You're on the air with Nayeli. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Nayeli. I'd like to know how the farmers could get away with hiring child labor, and how were you paid, and how were your parents paid? Did your parents get a check? Did you get cash? If your parents got a check, were Social Security and deductions taken out? Did they ever file and get any of those deductions if they got checks back, or there's just money down the drain or into the government and your parents just lose that way?
So I'm not complete. I was a little girl. I mean, I was only 10 when I first started, but I remember my mom would pay me with like the money, but I have a feeling that they paid my mom and my dad throughout what my brother and I did, because my brother's 3 years older than I, so we both worked together. And so
your mom paid you with the money she got. Was that cash or is that
cash? It was cash. So
Okay.
I feel like they might have paid her through what we worked off on her check.
okay?
Yeah.
But they don't pay any overtime. They don't pay weekends. They
No.
don't provide insurance.
No, and in the summer it's Monday through Sunday work. We work every single day. So that's not fun.
What about the child labor laws? You were out there at what age working, and did anybody ever ask how old that young lady is out there working?
I was 10 and I'm really short, so everyone always thought I was smaller, and sometimes they don't really think much of it. Like they just think, oh, they're helping her family, or they're just helping their family. It's okay.
Yeah.
But we did have some days where the boss would tell my parents and the workers, you can't bring your kids to work because someone's going to come and check the fields. So
they knew.
they know.
I mean, they were aware. Like, don't have your kids help because they
Yes.
don't want to see child labor there.
Yeah.
Yet you were there. They pretty much knew you were there the other days, right?
Yeah, basically. And so they would have us stay at home, or in those days I'd be super happy because obviously I didn't have to work, but yeah, and no one else liked it, but
were you kind of happy in that you did have a job and you did have some spending money?
She was
In
10,
that
Kelly.
regard.
10.
So what?
But you were actually
I
much
started
younger
working
sometimes.
when I was 10 also.
well,
Right, but
I'm
you were
just
also
asking.
like 6 or 7 when you were. Did you even get the concept that you're working and you get money?
no. When I was, so they would take us, and I would always just want to play with like the little things I'd find on the floor, sticks, and we'd go over to like the canals and try to throw things in the canals and play and stuff. But I'd get upset because I couldn't go and play. I'd have to go and work. And I wouldn't really get spending money much. Like, my mother would give us money. Yeah, but she taught us the concept of paying the bills.
Ah, yes.
So,
Okay. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
We have Nayeli Corral with us here this morning on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We'll get back to Nayeli Corral here in just a second, but I wanted to tell you the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment are actually kind of glad to see the cooler weather, because then a lot of people realize they could use a new chainsaw, a Husqvarna or Echo chainsaw. And the place to go to get one of those would be Clearwater Power Equipment. Now, they have them there. They sell them, they service them, they have the parts, they know all about them. You got any questions, they can answer them all. Try doing that at a big box store, and they'll look at you, you ask questions, they kind of look at you like you got two heads or something, But at Clearwater Power Equipment, that's all they deal in is just this power equipment. And so they want you to stop by, see what they got. If you need a chainsaw, that's the place to go. And this is a perfect time of year, maybe even for a present for dad or grandpa, or maybe even mom. Who knows,
Yeah,
So,
Mom needs a chainsaw, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Mama needs a new chainsaw. Mama needs a new shotgun.
Yeah,
You know how that goes.
Yeah, got to cut the turkey somehow.
They're at 252 Washington Street or 734-7767. They're right there where General Building Supply used to be. Because the 252 Washington Street, if you're like me, will mean nothing to you. But if you say, oh, yeah, there where General Building Supply used to be, then it all comes together and makes sense. So stop in and see the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment. Okay, we've got Nayeli Corral with us here this morning. She is a U.S. citizen. She has an interesting story on how she got here. We're kind of hearing her story and hearing her family story. And we have a caller. Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Jill. Kelly, I'm sorry I missed your party. I really wanted to be there.
I knew you were there in spirit, so I appreciate the thought.
I really was, truly. Hello, Noelle.
Hi.
I know I've slaughtered your name, but,
It's okay, it happens.
I can't wrap my tongue around that. I have a couple of things. First of all, I can understand being proud of or appreciate how hard your family worked to get here. Part of my family was here and before the white man came, and the rest of them either came over because of the potato famine or actually were here fighting in the Revolutionary War. So, and we've kept alive those stories in our family, so we do appreciate what our forebears went through to get here. That being said, they all did it legally when there was something to be legal about, obviously. So number one, I guess my question would be how do you really feel about the fact that your family and a lot of others have done this illegally? It's against the law. It's not just a matter of taking cuts. It's illegal. It's as illegal as anything else that people go to prison for. So that's number one.
You might have missed that she is legal. Her parents are legal, so they have done it legally. So
they came. It was my understanding that her father did not come in legally initially.
No, but he did take the right routes to become legal here, and he took the exam and all the other steps that there is to the process.
Okay,
because he was married to an American.
So
okay,
yeah.
But okay. That being said, there's a lot of others that have not, and you were talking about those parents that were deported and left their children here who were citizens. And the fact that this has gone on and gone on and gone on, and we've had amnesty in the past, and that has not cured anything. In fact, I think it's gotten worse. And it just seems to perpetuate the fact that people are coming in illegally. They're being taken advantage of. The children, she talked about kids that were being abducted and they couldn't go to the cops because they were there.
We're kind of running short on
What's your
time,
question?
so if you have a question.
Well, the question is, does she really feel that because people have to work hard to get here, even illegally, that justifies it? And if it wouldn't be better if they followed the correct route and did it legally?
Well, so they
Thank
know
you.
the consequences being here. they understand that it's going to be hard. They understand what they can and cannot do and how they have to suffer going through things that they know like that may happen here. And well, just like getting here and taking the right route is going to take much longer, and they want better lives. Like in Mexico, yeah, they can have a good life and stuff, but there are places where it's extremely bad. Like in my little town, they abduct kids and hang people and do all that bad stuff. But I mean, would you rather have your little child seeing all of this and seeing all of the murders, seeing all the gangs, the cartel drugs, or would you want to take the risk to bring your children over here and have them have a better life?
So it kind of boils down to the fact that
What do you want for your kids?
in spite of the risk, everything that they go through is worth it. Whether it's coming here illegally, it's worth any price they pay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be right back here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Fascinating story with Nayeli Corral, telling her story of her family coming here into the United States. Now, Nayeli, you're a legal U.S. citizen. You actually have dual citizenship.
Yes,
With Mexico and the United States. You're going to college.
Yes.
And kind of a rags to riches type story, you might say.
Yeah.
I know you're probably not rich, but you are richer than you were.
Yeah, I feel like I may not be rich, I guess, in a way, but I feel like I've done what I need to do to get, and I'm still continuing to where I want to be in life and stuff. So I don't feel rich in that sense, but rich in the sense of I'm doing the things that I need to do to get to where I want to be in life.
And the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have a scholarship, which is why you're going to school.
Yes.
Okay. And that was through what program?
AVID.
And what does that stand for?
So Advanced Via Individual Determination. It's a place where usually it's like the people that are determined to get to college and usually have family that didn't get to go to college or haven't gone to go to college. So you're usually the first person to go to college, helps you get there and helps you with the processes and handling like the stress, the homework, everything that's new.
Because your parents aren't aware.
No.
Right. Because your mom has a 5th grade education.
Yeah, and my dad, he knows more. It's just all in Spanish. So when he tries to teach me, I mean, there's different things. Mexico teaches different things, and it's harder for me to understand.
So we wanted to just touch base about employers and Social Security numbers. And do the employers know that basically their entire workforce is illegal?
I'm pretty sure they don't want to know, but eventually they find out. And they act as if they don't know. So...
But you still work on weekends. They aren't paying overtime. You aren't working a 40-hour work week.
No.
I mean, and there's no recourse. I mean, when you're living in the shadows, like your uncles are working or your family, or even people, clearly in the fields that have fake Social Security numbers, it's not like you call the Department of Labor and say they aren't following the laws.
No, no one would dare to do that because they're too afraid to step up. They're just happy that they're here and they have a job and they have a way to maintain their family. They may not be rich. It may not be a lot of money. They may still have to eat like beans and rice every night, which I know some families that have to do that. But they're just happy to be here and have a job in that sense.
How easy or difficult, either way, is it to get a fake Social Security number?
People know people, so those who work in that area will, I guess, steal the Social Security cards, or they will sell them like behind their back. So, I mean, people know people in the fields. They know. They ask them, "Oh, where did you get this? Where did you get that?" And they'll have their friends, and so that's where they will go.
So it's fairly easy then.
Yeah.
All you have to do is ask somebody, "Hey, where do I get?"
Pay.
And they'll
pay.
What does it cost?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm not completely sure about how much it costs because I've never had to do it, and neither of my parents. But yeah.
And people also can buy their driver's license as well, right?
Yes, my aunt back then, she was young and she bought her license in Marsing. And she had no idea how to drive. Like my mother would tell me that when they would have to drive back to Mexico, my aunt would be driving and she would be hitting all the orange cones because that's what she thought you had to do.
She thought you had to hit the orange cones.
Yeah, so she would hit them all.
You
off
get
the
points
road.
that way, Kelly, and so many points you
Just
get,
like
you
Pac-Man.
win something. Exactly.
Yeah. And it was because she never took driver's ed. She didn't know how to drive. She never read the book. and she just bought her license.
Well, believe me, there are people on the road today who have taken driver's
Right,
training, who
that
have
still
driven
hit
for
the
years,
orange cars.
who still hit the orange cones and still don't know how to drive. Believe me.
And
So-
one other rumor that I hear on the show a lot, that people come over from Mexico, or even actually 40% overstay their work visas. They're not all from Mexico; they're from other countries as well. But I mean, they think the first thing that you guys do or want to do is like go to the voter registration and vote and register as a Democrat and vote. How many people do that? I mean, do you think people stay away from government buildings, or when you're living in the shadows in the U.S., how many people actually want to interact with any kind of government agency?
0. No one wants to go, and no one even wants to go to the police station or be close to a cop. They're terrified. They are terrified they're going to get discovered or something's going to happen. Of course, no one wants to go to any government-related buildings at all.
So if you're victims of crimes, I mean, women have been raped, kids have been abducted, things like this. I mean, that's
one
part of
says
the
anything.
problem, because they're living in the shadows and they're afraid to come out.
Yeah.
And with this new legislation, well, actually, it's not legislation. It's really just who they're going to start to enforce the laws or not enforce the laws anymore. They're not going to deport families of Americans. Do you think that will help?
I think it's going to help a lot, and it's going to, like I said, they just feel like a big relief is on. Like they don't feel freaked out about being afraid to drive, because they don't have the license. Some people don't actually have license. They just have their Mexican driver's license, but just not being afraid to go out and drive their kid to school and be afraid to get pulled over and get taken back to Mexico. So that was always a big thing for a lot of people.
We're just about out of time, and I'm just kind of curious. You're going to college. What career are you pursuing?
Nursing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
nice.
you're a nurse. What is it? CNA now, or?
Yeah, I have my EMT and now I'm in CNA.
Okay.
So.
Very good. Well, I know you did it right, and we appreciate it, and we appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Thanks for the insight,
Very
Nayeli.
interesting story.
It
Nice
is.
insight.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Nayeli Corral is the young lady's name. And we are now going to listen to the Huckabee Report, brought to you by Waddell & Reed. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number to call is 736-6563. I was sitting there waiting for something to happen after the Huckabee Report, and then I finally
Nothing
realized, oh, wait,
happened.
I'm supposed to.
Yeah, can you try to get with it? I know you had your big party and everything, but you know
Oh,
what? We
my.
still have to work. You still have to work till December 31st.
I know.
You're like in vacation mode. What they call it, senioritis
I'm
or
in
something?
retirement mode, I guess. I'm sorry.
I know. Yes, apologize
Yeah.
to our poor listeners who have to deal with
Well,
this.
let me tell you something. Now, we've been talking about the low and honey loader, how it can load all types of manure from liquid to frozen and dry, and it's been frozen, I know, for the past few days, and now we're getting up probably into that liquid state, because it's like 35 right now. So if you have a feedlot or dairy or someplace where manure is an issue, then consider the low and honey loader. If you want to see one of these in operation, before you plunk down the money, you can do that. Get a hold of Pat Hartzell, 280-1167. He can fix you up. So you can go to one of these feedlots that's operating one of these. You can see it operate, see it work. You can, knock on it, kick the tires.
I want you to
talk
race
to the
one.
operator.
I want you to shovel and see if you're faster than 7 miles an hour.
I wouldn't be. There's no way that no.
Then we kill you. You're like, okay, now you got permanent retirement.
Yeah, I just concede right now. The low and honey
Okay,
loader is
fine.
going to do a lot better job than I ever
All
could.
right, okay.
All right. So get a hold of Pat, 280-1167, and he'll set you up at Stanley and Company.
Mm-hmm.
So
now what? So now Thanksgiving.
yeah, that's right. Thanksgiving.
I know.
We won't be here Thursday, and we got Christmas in the Nighttime Sky coming up Friday night again at Kimberly Nurseries. It works the same as it has for the last 20-some years.
Yeah.
Bring an unwrapped toy for a child and to get in, and then you'll get a chili and potato dinner. And they told me the other day, over the course of this activity, they have provided like 150,000 toys for disadvantaged children here in the Magic Valley area. All those have stayed right here.
That's amazing.
It is.
Wow.
And you can realize, of course, that when they first started 20-some years ago, some of the kids they helped in are adults now.
Hopefully they're helping.
So, yeah,
and hopefully
absolutely.
they've paid it forward.
And, of course, the music will be choreographed to the fireworks, and the music you'll be able to hear on our sister station, I believe, 95.7 KZJ, and the Christmas station, Cool 96.5. So
That's been playing Christmas music since November 10th.
That's right.
Nate!
In fact, I think on our website there's a link you can click on to go to the Christmas music at Cool 96.5 in case you're into it. So
And it's our Nate Bird.
That's right. So we're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow here on Top Story. Have a great day. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.